Yuj on 4 out of 5. So he has reasserted his dominance. Remember 2024, he won both events. I think he had like 30 wins and 2 losses or something absurd that year. By the way, he does not own the record for highest opening day at the ChessKid Youth Championship. That was set 2 weeks ago. Bodena had 9.5 out of 10. And guess what? Nobody's going to break that record today because everybody has 1 loss. So Bodena is still in the record books for 1 more year. Bishop to b5, and we had pawn takes c5. And here's our live position. I gotta hand it to you here, or ask you here, Yovi. I almost never take that pawn because my center collapses. This is a very strange decision by Sergey.
Yes, and that's a general rule that I would actually advise white players be very cautious about taking on c5 because the e5 pawn is worth so much more. And you can see now that black is the one with all the potential to expand in the center. You know, you can imagine castles, e5, f5, and on we go with the center. So I gotta say, it's a mysterious decision. I think white is planning for going for some b4, a4 expansion on the queen side, but it's not without its risk.
Yeah, and even if you throw your pawns down the board, you're not aiming at a whole lot on the queen side, whereas black's expansion in the center will start to take over the board. So either all of my classical training is no longer applicable in chess, or Sergey just knows more than me, because d takes c5, something you almost never play in these sort of advanced French type setups. Because yeah, the e-pawn was captured right away. Black didn't even have to work for it. So interesting decision. We'll call it interesting. But you know, Sergey plays very well by beating the #1 player. We already know that. Now, which way is he going to take back? It's not a given to me that he's going to take with the c-pawn. But c-pawn would be the more natural way. What do you think? He took with the a-pawn. Okay, keeping the pawns together in this way.
I was a little bit concerned that after c takes b4, that maybe a knight can jump into d4, and white is really banking on the presence of the bishop pair in order to get that counterplay for black having such a perfect pawn structure. And we're seeing knight to f5, and that's why white didn't want to capture with a c-pawn. But the question here for white is, you know, how to improve, and knight goes to b3. You know, I got to say one thing about white's position. Even though d takes c5 happened, white is still pretty solid. You just have to kind of make some kind of repairing moves like bishop to b2, or maybe make some trades with rook e2 in order to exchange off black's active pieces, and the bishops will be able to make a nuisance because black can't advance their pawns without making some weakness.
I was wondering if at some point black's going to play the move pawn to d4, double attacking c3. And if the pawn takes, then knights start capturing on d4. Now, white goes ahead and gets rid of that possibility by capturing one of the knights. Now, if you're black, I don't think you want to play this at all because you're weakening c6. And also, c3 is a really nice target for your bishop. So I think that black is now going to think about playing e5 and going to just completely jettison the idea of pawn to d4. But you might as well put your rook behind it. I don't see white being able to stop the pawn from coming to e5 anytime soon. Anyway, it is white's move first, and white plays bishop to f4, finally activating the bishop. But now, of course, e5 will come with tempo whenever it does happen. Maybe after rook over, white's idea is to put the bishop on e5, but of course we could just play f6 and then e5.
Yeah, and well, we're seeing bishop to c1. I also wondered whether white's idea is to go knight to d4 at the right time and try to post up a piece on d6. But we're seeing white just offering Yaz to repeat the moves. We actually haven't seen a draw at all, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, how many?
Yeah, 15
We've
games.
seen how many games of chess we've...
I don't know. Yeah. You might think it's in the player contract that draws are not allowed before move 40. Not at all. Okay. There's no rule like that in this game. But they're just trying to get as big a score as possible. But yeah, I think I've seen it before, but I can't immediately recall. It's incredibly rare, even in a title Tuesday, to see no draws in 15 top level games.
Yeah. And your plan is there in operation. The bishop posting up to e5, and white is threatening to clamp down. I gotta say one thing about white's position is if you do manage to get your knight to d4, and if you do manage to kind of provoke black into trading knights, and then maybe b5 will come, and then suddenly white is the one who potentially has some play there on the queen side. But Yaz saying, nope, no knight d4 for you. I'm setting up some kind of hidden pins against the white queen on f3. So... Right. The question is how to improve.
Yep, you hit the nail on the spot there with rook to a3. The knight wasn't able to come to d4 because of that sideways pin. I really thought black was going to play f6, e5. If you do that too quickly, you actually weaken d5, and maybe white could play b5 and finally get something going. So again, not a lot of committal decisions here by Yagiz. He's going to play this a little bit more slowly. He hops his knight in. Now he's almost maximized all 4 of his pieces. The question is, can he break through? The knight does get to d4. Okay, and the knight on h4 actually is kind of sitting like a bystander, but rook takes with the idea takes and queen takes f2, and Sergey just goes into it. Isn't that just checkmate in 2?
Oh, and he just holds his head in his hands. He can't quite believe it. He really was thinking that that wasn't possible. Wow, what a dramatic finish. Yeah, there was going to be checkmate with the queen onto g2. And yeah, yes, he's in boss mode. He leans back and he's like, yeah, that's exactly what he needed. Can't quite believe it either.
You can't quite tell he won the game, but we have one game in progress. We're going to jump there super quickly. Patrick.